Hello, and welcome back to Gloomhaven Speedrunning. This is going to be my brutal world record that I just got this morning. So very first things first, if you didn't notice, the difficulty is actually set to deadly here in the very beginning. The rules for the category just say that the difficulty needs to be on brutal or higher for the entire run, and so we're actually going to start on deadly. It's just going to help us farm a little bit. So first things first, I need to get certain characters with certain personal quests. So there are 24 personal quests that you can get, and you get 2 each time. So once you have looked at 12 personal quests, you actually know the order that they will be in. When you create a new file, it shuffles all 24 of them, but then every time you draw 2, it puts those 2 on the bottom of the deck of cards. So I'm just looking for a copy of Exhaust 12 times, a copy of Experience 15 Allies Exhausting, and then I want 2 copies of Experience 2 Allies Retiring. And so I got all 4 of those now, and I am just putting everybody where I need to. Now my Mind Thief needs a pair of boots. Everybody is going to donate to the church, and I am off to level 1. So this strategy is it's really nice for the beginning. Basically, we want to use the Lightning Bolts class for the speedrun, and if you know the class, then you will understand why, because it's very, very fast and very, very good. And in order to get the Lightning Bolts class, obviously we'll have to unlock it. And then there is an item that the Lightning Bolts absolutely loves, that is Prosperity 3. And it is worth the time that it will take for us to get to Prosperity 3, rather than it just trying to beat the game at Prosperity 2 or 1. So, very first thing I'm doing here, I am just having my characters kill themselves. So I go really fast on the Spellweaver, faster than everything can go. And then my Brute is going at 10, which is faster than all of the monsters. This gives me a chance to abandon quest if the guards or the archers are faster than my Mind Thief. My Mind Thief also needs to kill itself 3 times in order for me to get my 15 deaths that I need for my second character to exhaust, or to retire, which will cause my other 2 characters to also retire, so all 4 will pop when I get back to town. But you can only abandon the quest and retry when it is your turn. Therefore, you want to be going faster than all of the monsters, so that they never get a turn and they never get a chance to act, because that's just very slow. So I have just all 4 of my characters staggered, so that in between each character going, I have a chance to abandon. And so I sped this up to triple speed, so we should be just about done. I think it's right at the 10-minute mark that I finish this. And that can just depend on how many characters I ended up needing to make. But it doesn't matter, because those characters are going to be donated in the church anyway. So this first segment here was pretty good for me. Oh, I made sure to turn the volume down here, because the these cutscenes are very loud. But this first split here, it went pretty well. I do lose a little bit of time. What's really, really annoying about it is that I really need prosperity from city events. And so there's a 1 in 5 chance with your starting characters that you get a prosperity event if you have a Spellweaver and a Cragheart in your party. And then when the Brute retires, it adds another event that adds prosperity to the deck. So I make sure that I always retire a Brute along with my Spellweaver and Mind Thief. And then the other class I retire doesn't matter. I just like the Cragheart, so I take a Cragheart. And so then when I get back to town, I have 1 extra chance at getting a prosperity, but I didn't get it here, which is kind of annoying. I just reset my runs until I get that first prosperity, so it takes me like 45 seconds to go for my 1 in 5 chance. But I don't want to I don't want to spend 15 minutes waiting for that other prosperity. So it takes me about 15 minutes to get up to Prosperity 3 and to have a Berserker and a Mind Thief unlocked. And they're going to be the mains for the run. The Mind Thief doesn't actually get to see as much of the run as it used to, but it still sees a majority. So buying my items, get an Invisibility Cloak, a Poison Dagger, and some boots on the Mind Thief. No potions. Mind Thief is actually never even going to buy a potion. And then I get rid of Gnawing Horde for Frigid Apparition. Having that stun and an attack 5 is really, really nice. I will be subbing some of my cards back and forth in, so Gnawing Horde will come on certain scenarios where I need to move really far. Then my Berserker is going to level up. I take Fatal Fury. Fatal Fury is really, really, really good when you have things kind of mapped out ahead of time, and you can know exactly how much health you are, and you manipulate your health so that you can kill targets really easily. Then I also took some other interesting cards, mostly because I will use them on level 2. So we'll talk about that when we get there. But now we are into level 1. So, very first thing, these guards, the fastest they can move and attack is at 30. So I wanted to go faster than 30, which is why both of my characters are in the 20s here. I didn't want to go at 11 with Glass Hammer, because if I had, I would have moved up and I would have killed 2 of these guards, and then this other guard would have killed me, since I go down to 1 health with Glass Hammer. Unfortunately, since they got that shield, it meant they played an animation, which takes 5 seconds each, so that's 15 seconds I kind of lose. This guard was going to get his turn no matter what, so that's 10 seconds I lose from the other 2 getting an extra turn. But because he got his shield, I didn't deal enough damage to him on the Mind Thief. So my Berserker wants to be Fatal Furying things throughout the whole run. Ideally, I'll be at 1 health when I go for a Fatal Fury, and if I have 1 health, then I can kill any target who has fewer than 3 plus my level hit points. So I am level 3 right now, so I can kill anything at 6 health or less. So I wanted my Mind Thief to get him down to 6 health, but unfortunately missed out on the kill there. Now this archer is moving up 3, which is perfect. That's exactly what I want to see. That means that my Mind Thief is going to be able to pick up that gold pile and hit the archer at the same time. Also, because I didn't get enough damage onto the bandit guard in the first room on turn 1, it meant that my Mind Thief is actually behind a turn right now. But that it did get an extra gold pile, which is very nice. The early part of this speedrun, gold is really, really, really tight. I do not have, there is no way to have every gold pile mapped out, just because you don't exactly know how many spaces the enemies are going to move. For example, 2 of the cards that this archer can draw, it doesn't move at all, which is very bad, because then you have to run all the way to the back, and then you have to run back to this door. And so it's just a lot of the gold routing you have to do on the fly, and it definitely messes me up this run. Things did not go perfectly in terms of gold routing. I'm also playing without crits or misses, so everything is a +2 or a -2. So it's just really nice to know for a fact, like, okay, this is going to kill 100% of the time. But I've picked up a lot of gold piles so far on this level 1, so that is going well for me. But this has been slow just because I lost 10 seconds on turn 1, and then my Mind Thief fell behind a turn. That didn't end up mattering because I did kill both of the monsters in the second room at the same time. But this level could just be going slightly faster. 4 extra monster animations have played over what's optimal. And then here I got a little bit unlucky as well. These skeletons are healing on this turn. Their 12 speed and their 20 speed cards are both heals. My Mind Thief wanted to push that skeleton all the way into the back, and to have my Berserker Fatal Fury him on the following turn. But because he's healing, he might have been able to heal up over the 6 hit health threshold. And since I have 2 health right now, I can only one-shot a 5 health target. Then my Mind Thief just so happened to pull a +2, so it didn't matter. But A little bit unlucky because not having that poison dagger makes it a lot harder to get this kill on this final skeleton in the room. But this is just kind of an interesting strategy right here that I think is updated from my previous run. I'm staggering killing the skeletons. So first, the Berserker kills a skeleton while the Mind Thief loots, and then the Mind Thief goes for his kill on the skeleton while the Berserker loots. And I did get a little bit lucky here with no poison dagger. Both of these attacks need to get a 0 or better to kill. But then if you have a poison dagger, obviously your Perverse Edge is dealing 3 extra damage. So that's level 1 done. It went pretty well. I lost a little bit of time, mostly just to 4 extra monster animations playing, but that's not the end of the world. When it comes to battle goals, I try to get them, particularly for the Mind Thief, early on, but I don't spend a lot of time looking at them or stressing over them. Battle goals are nice to have for a couple scenarios, particularly Drake's Nest and Temple of the Elements. The Mind Thief is attacking a lot, and you really want it to get some damage. So this is a cool strategy here. Submissive Affliction is just a really, really nice card, because the bottom of it gives you access to damage. Like, most cards are just like movement on the bottom and damage on top. And so it's just really nice to have some sort of access to a little bit of damage, with Submissive Affliction making an enemy attack its ally. So I was able to use that here, and with the extra damage from my Poison Dagger, even though it was only an attack for 2, it did give me enough damage to kill that archer on turn 1, which is nice. And then I'm going for Unbridled Power here, so now I can heal all the way up to 26. That also heals me for 3, and then a health potion on top of that puts me at 6 health above my maximum health. And then From the Brink heals you for your distance from your maximum health. It heals you for the absolute value of it. So I was 6 health over my maximum health, so I originally thought that would be like a -6 heal, but it's the absolute value. So it heals me for 6, which gets me all the way up to 26, which is the exact same health that the boss has. So I'm going to run in and smack the boss in the face, and then I just need a 0 or better to kill. Unfortunately, this scenario adds extra -2s. It adds 3 curses. And I also played really greedy here with my Mind Thief, and I went for a Scurry Bottom to loot both of those gold piles. I could have gone faster and used Empathetic Assault to guarantee the kill. If I had gotten a -2 with my Berserker, then Empathetic Assault, even with a -2, still would have killed the boss. But I was really greedy, and I wanted those gold piles. I didn't get any gold on any of my road events, and so I actually only needed 1 of those gold piles. I thought I needed both of them in order to buy a Jagged Sword for my Mind Thief for this level. So I bought a major health potion on my Berserker and a Jagged Sword on the Mind Thief. And the Jagged Sword puts a lot of work in this scenario. It generally saves like 2 turns, and it can sometimes save even more than that to have the Jagged Sword here. So I always try to have it by this level. So, start out, I'm just going for my basic opener of using Glass Hammer to kill 2 targets that are standing next to each other. That's why both this class and having Prosperity 3 are just so strong, because you kill so quickly. A little unlucky here that the skeleton went faster than me, but both of its cards that were faster than me are both heals. So, that's another 5 seconds lost to the animation. But I'm able to use that trap to get the kill. And then I put my Mind Thief right here in between these 2 gold piles, so that next turn it can loot and get both of them. I get Defiance of Death set up on my Berserker so that it won't die once I get into the final room of this scenario. So pick up the loot, get up to the door, ready to storm the second room. But the second room has the absolute bane of my existence. It has cultists. Cultists are what make this run difficult. They make it very RNG heavy. And so you can see 63, that means that these cultists are summoning this turn. So I always plan to come into this room and hit this first cultist with a stun. If he's not doing something scary, then I can stun one of the archers instead and just block a little bit of damage and hope to kill them. But since he's summoning, Cultist is definitely the target to stun. And then my Berserker is going to end up picking up the kill here. Unfortunately, I didn't get any +2 on those archers, so they're both going to attack. I don't want any of my charges of Defiance of Death to be popped right here. I'm going to be trying to get kills with my Fatal Fury in the final room, and I need to be at 3 health or less. And so I can't really use my major health potion to heal up, because then I could have too much health if the monsters don't damage me correctly. So it's better to use the potion to save your Defiance of Death charges in the second room. But also, since my Mind Thief got attacked an extra time on turn 2, it's lower on health, and so one of the archers killed the Mind Thief, so I had to abandon a card instead of taking damage, which was really unfortunate, because everything was mapped out for me to be able to get a nice Frigid Apparition stun with Feedback Loop, which is my only move 4 card since I don't have Gnawing Horde right now. And then also, this Fatal Fury misses out on the kill here when I just needed a 0 or better. So this level, I don't think I really made any mistakes. I just got unlucky. So, not really much you can do about it. Then I have to make sure I long rest here, because going into the final room, my Berserker really needs its long spear. I also want to pick the card that I lose. I really wanted to target the skeleton with my Mind Thief here, but once again, the Cultist was summoning, so I just had to take care of him. I didn't really have any other options, so almost like basically the worst possible card draws from all of the monsters here in this level, so far at least. And then this is just an awkward situation that I'm almost never in. Ideally, I have all of the monsters killed on the first rest cycle, and so this is like over a minute of time loss just from like, I don't really know, and like I don't have this planned out for what I should be doing here. But luckily the Berserker got really good pulls there and got the kills, and so I was planning on using Into the Night for its just default attack 4 with Mind's Weakness, but instead I was able to get some gold on the Mind Thief, which is not bad. So Mind Thief is going to rest up. It needs its daggers back, its Poison Dagger and Jagged Sword. Then I strengthen Agony myself down to 1 health, and I still have all 3 charges of Defiance of Death, so I'm not afraid of these guys at all. If this Cultist had summoned on this turn, that actually would be the best case scenario, because I have my Long Spear and I have Resolute Stand, which means no matter what, wherever he summoned the skeleton, it would be next to him, and I could line up for a Long Spear Resolute Stand, which is faster than all of their cards, and it would drop an extra gold pile for me. But, of course, he didn't summon on the turn that I want him to, and he summoned on the turn after. So, I still have Defiance of Death, so I'm not particularly afraid of this Wind Demon. I just have to stay at 3 health or less, and I can kill it with a Fatal Fury. But I do want to use my bounce back to heal, because at 1 health you don't get a choice on your short rest which cards you get back. And so at 2 health I can decide whether I want... so if I get Fatal Fury as my card on my short rest, then I can redraw. Which didn't happen there, but it does happen sometimes. Then I have a really cool strategy with my Mind Thief here, but it only works with 2 of the Earth Demon cards. If I stand right next to that trap and go invisible and the Earth Demon is moving 3, then he'll walk onto the trap. So I can damage him with Empathetic Assault, then he takes 5 damage from the trap, and it just feels really cool to do. But you can see it didn't actually end up mattering, because the bottom of Fearsome Blade gives me an attack 4, and then I put both of my daggers on it, and that makes the top of Perverse Edge an attack 10. So Mind Thief can hit super, super hard, especially given that Mind Thief is still just level 1, and my Berserker is level 3. So this is tense. If the Wind Demon were faster than me and had attacked me and killed me, I did not have any cards that I could have lost. So I almost lost the run here. I was very greedy, using my Furious Aid to get as much gold as I could on the Berserker. But it worked out for me, and if it hadn't, it only would have been 30 minutes into the run, so it wouldn't have been that bad of a reset. I also should have picked up that final gold pile that was right next to the Mind Thief, but I was busy celebrating that I survived the level, and so I didn't even notice. On this trip to town, I normally like to buy an invisibility cloak and a moon earring, but I was one gold short of my invisibility cloak, and I didn't notice, or well, I mean, I noticed at the time, but I didn't remember, and so later that comes back to haunt me when I do not buy my invisibility cloak when I'm supposed to. So I got really, really, really good RNG on turn 1 here with these cultists not summoning. So 3 and 4 chance that they don't summon. And then this is the best card that they can get because they move all the way up to my characters and they attack. So I set up Retaliate on my Berserker. Poor Mind Thief. Just gets absolutely destroyed. But I set up Retaliate on my Berserker, which brings this Night Demon down nice and low. And then you start disarmed here, which is why I couldn't attack on my Berserker. But my Mind Thief has the perk to ignore negative scenario effects. So Parasitic Influence to force a cultist to step on a trap. Normally I make the Night Demon step on the trap, but just because of the way they moved, it had to be the cultist. And then Berserker is able to deal with both of them with a Reckless Offensive. I made a little bit of a mistake here. I should not have used Scurry Top. I should have used Mind's Weakness Top. It would have done 1 more damage and then set up the Mind's Weakness for me. But normally the cultists only move 2. I think only 1 of their cards, they move 3. And so normally I have to scurry into position to hit the guy. And then I always bring Perverse Edge on turn 2 just in case the cultist summons. So I could have dealt 1 more damage to him, which would have been best. And then this is very annoying that he gets his 10-speed card. That 10-speed card, it has an attack on death. And the animation for that attack on death takes forever. And because I got that -1 right there, I'm not going to be... He's not going to die to the wound, which is annoying, but I didn't want to run over with my Berserker, get hit by the attack on death, and watch the, 10-second cutscene of him doing the attack on death. But then, of course, he summons. So, I was planning on just leaving him to die to the wound and moving on into the next 2 rooms, but he summoned on that turn. So, I had no choice other than to deal with him. So, my Berserker is 2 turns behind where she should be right here. But I love this strategy. So I made sure I brought the Mind's Weakness down. So I run over to a Flame Demon and wound him. And then the bottom of Mind's Weakness also gives me an attack with wound. So now both of these Flame Demons are wounded and at 3 health. And I can eat the Retaliate from them as long as I'm full health. And Skeleton is going to see the Berserker, so it comes over towards my Mind Thief, who's invisible. I definitely don't want to lose Furious Aid. I need that in the next room. This scenario has 2 chests, both on one all the way on the left, one all the way on the right, and they both have 15 gold in them. So ideally, I would get those chests on both characters. So I use my Moon Earring here to get back both of my daggers and go for my Fearsome Blade Perverse Edge combo. This doesn't do nearly as much because I don't have Mind's Weakness set up. But I got enough damage that the skeleton will die on the following turn to its wound, which is really nice because he didn't heal this turn. That means he will die the following turn no matter what, because he's going to be at 1 health. So even if he draws a heal card, he won't heal quickly enough. So Mind Thief has nothing left it needs to do. It has 1 health, or everything in its room has 1 health and is wounded. So I decided to let the Mind Thief die, which was pretty stupid, because I should have gone for that chest in the bottom left-hand corner and gotten the 15 gold. I don't know why I didn't. Normally here I go for the kill on this skeleton, but everything would have died on this turn, and so I don't want to lose this chest. So I am taking the chest first. And then the final turn will just be me resolute standing that final skeleton. It's so satisfying to watch everything die to wound. Much faster than them taking their turn. And this guy dies, and I can get his gold pile as well. And so this is where I make two mistakes. This trip to town was really, really bad. One of the mistakes doesn't matter that much, and the other mistake is by far the biggest mistake I make in the run. Oh, well, these are connected scenarios, so it's the next trip to town. Even though these are connected scenarios, you have a chance to change your cards, and I was supposed to change my Berserker cards. I was supposed to bring Cauterize here to wound both of these Flame Demons in the first room, and then I use Resolute Stand to set up a Retaliate. So if they have a melee card, which they did draw here, then I can use the Retaliate to deal 1 damage to both of them if I use my boots to get in between, and then they take 1 damage from the wound on this turn, and then they kill themselves at the start of the next turn. Then I also have Submissive Affliction to make the Flame Demons attack each other, and they have ranged Retaliate, so that will just kill one of them faster. But I didn't bring Cauterize, so I had to play it differently. So this strategy I'm making up completely on the fly here, of using a Blood Pact and then a Fatal Fury to kill the Flame Demons, which I think is a pretty decent strategy. Also, since this guy got his 8-speed card, it would have been best if I had used Defiance of Death bottom, but there's no way for me to know that. So I'm a little confused here, and I'm trying to think really hard about what I'm going to do, just because my cards are messed up. Normally I still have Fatal Fury, and I use Fatal Fury to kill the Flame Demon in the second room. This is very important that I go slower on my Berserker than on my Mind Thief, which normally doesn't matter because there is only one Sun Demon card that is faster than 37, but that just so happens to be the card that it draws here, which is really annoying. But this is another really good use of Parasitic Influence to just line these guys up for a long spear. If that Flame Demon hadn't set that trap, my Mind Thief actually would have been 1 space further into the scenario, and so my Mind Thief would stand where the Earth Demon is, and I would have moved that Earth Demon onto the Magma, and so he would have taken 2 damage from that, which would have been really nice. And then also I've taken a lot of damage here since I Blood Pacted myself on turn 1, so I'm going to have to use both of my heals, and then these kills are not guaranteed. I need 0s or better to get the kills, but I did get lucky and get those. But my Mind Thief took a lot of punishment, much more than it normally does, because that Sun Demon, I think this is the first time I've ever had that Sun Demon attack me. I really want my Defiance of Death up for the final room, and so I decided to go for a little bit cheeky of a strategy here. I decided to short rest. Once again, this was completely on the fly. I decided to short rest and feedback loop, and then use my Moon Earring here to get all the way into the corner. I didn't realize at first that I wouldn't reach without it, because normally I'm further into the scenario. But using my Moon Earring got me my Wound Dagger back, and then Fearsome Blade pushes this guy so I don't suffer his Retaliate, and then the wound is going to take care of him. And so even if I hadn't gotten that +1, he would have just died the following turn, and I would have just taken one of my Defiance of Death charges. And now both my characters can go for a long rest, so I still was able to clear the first 2 rooms before a rest cycle, which is not too bad. I'm running Furious 8 here. I'm not going to be going for looting some gold, although it really wouldn't be a bad idea. Those 3 gold piles right there are looking mighty tasty. And so just going to go for a big move and a resolute stand. There is an elite Earth Demon and a normal Sun Demon in this room, the reverse in the final room from the second. But we saw from Crypt of the Damned that the Mind Thief loves dealing with these elite Earth Demons. It can just eat them up. So I go for a stun here. I still have my invisibility cloak, and so I probably should have just used it. It would mean the Mind Thief wouldn't take damage from a Flame Demon here. I don't really know why I decided not to, but I did. And this is one annoying thing about using your Defiance of Death. whenever you walk onto a trap with Defiance of Death, it will just end your movement there. It doesn't matter if you moved anywhere else as well. But all this magma is really nice for manipulating your health, so I was able to make sure I was at 1 health, so my Resolute Stand was a guaranteed kill. And then I just need to deal with these 2 Flame Demons, but they are Fatal Fury bait. And then, once again, this guy has 15 health, but he is very... He has 2 conditions on him, so he's going to take a lot of damage from Perverse Edge. And so this combo just works really nicely. Even with the minus, that guy is still dead on this turn. And that is the Plane of Elemental Power. So this is another example of me using the heal 1 on bounce back just to guarantee that when I short rest, I don't lose Fatal Fury, which I think does happen here. Mind Thief dies, which is actually kind of optimal. It's a little bit faster to just not have to pick a turn for it. And then I'm faster than a Flame Demon. So that scenario overall went really, really well, even though I completely screwed up and brought the wrong cards. So I'm happy with my on-the-fly strategizing that I came up with to not, at the very least, not lose a ton of time. So this is where I have my shopping mishap, and I was like, oh man, I have so much gold here. I can afford an Eagle Eye Goggles. I do not normally buy Eagle Eye Goggles, and I really don't need them. Then I realized when I was putting my items on that I didn't have an invisibility cloak, so I went for a city event hoping to get 2 gold or something like that, but I did not. So no invisibility cloak for Frozen Hollow, which is... I don't think I've ever gone into Frozen Hollow without an invisibility cloak. I also really do not need the Eagle Eye Goggles. There are only 2 attacks in the entire run that basically want Eagle Eye Goggles. Everything else is like a guaranteed kill. So this is a very painful scenario to watch because this is definitely the worst level in the whole run. This was also the worst level in the last run that I uploaded. But they go badly for completely different reasons. So first of all, Spellweaver is really, really good here, because there are 2 spots in this level where there are 4 enemies all touching each other when they spawn, and so Impaling Eruption can just deal huge damage to them. So that's what I go for on turn 1 here. Impaling Eruption along with a Reckless Offensive to try to kill 3 hounds, which I do get, but unfortunately the final hound that's left has 4 health. I was attacking him for 4, and he has 8 health max, and I had advantage, and I did donate to the church, so I had 2 extra blesses, and then the 1 perk that I took was a +2 fire. So I had 6 +2s in my deck, and I attacked with advantage, but unfortunately I just got a 0. So this hound has more health than he normally does. I attack him for 4 and for 3, and I want to get the kill. Then also my Spellweaver has absolutely no extra stamina in this scenario. I cannot afford to lose a card there to not take damage, and it knocked me down to 1 health, and so I would have had to pull a +1 at disadvantage, otherwise I would have died to retaliate, and so I wasn't able to attack the wolf there, which was really, really unlucky. If I had gotten a +1 or a +2 against him on turn 1, I would have just gone for the attack there. But since I didn't, I'm not able to set up my Defiance of Death because my Berserker is too far away. I should have positioned my Berserker 1 space lower when I was attacking the Living Spirit, and then the wolf would have targeted my Berserker, but I realized that after it was too late. So I'm having to go for a short rest here because I always go for Cauterize in this second room to soften up some of these Flame Demons for Fatal Furies. That way I don't eat Retaliate damage from them. But Cauterize, of course, was the card I lost on my short rest, which I normally have it mapped out so that I don't have to short rest. And then Strength and Agony is the card that I lost on the second part of my rest. So just overall complete disaster. Since I didn't have Strength and Agony, I didn't have enough movement to get far into this room. I also don't have my invisibility cloak. This is where I normally use it. I normally move up further into this room and go invisible and hit 2 of these targets and get wounds on them so that they can start ticking down. But this scenario is going very, very poorly. And then since they got these huge shields, that means that my Spellweaver isn't going to be doing huge damage either. And she's at 1 health, which means when she short rests, she can't pick the card that she gets back, and she will die to retaliate. So I'm only going to hit 2 targets with his Fire Orbs, because I cannot afford to hit the guy next to me. I would die no matter what. So I have to go for a short rest here on the Spellweaver. I mean, I maybe could long rest and just hope to survive. But I don't lose Reviving Ether, which is good. Another minus from my summon, which is very unlucky. But at least now I'm able to heal up a little bit and get my Reviving Ether. So now I can afford to lose a card to not take damage. I also have 2 charges of my Crackling Air left, which is really, really good. Since attacks are all resolved simultaneously in the digital version of Gloomhaven, even if you only have 1 charge of Crackling Air left, if you use an attack like Impaling Eruption that hits 4 targets at the same time, it will use that 1 charge of Crackling Air on all 4 attacks. So I want to save 1 charge of Crackling Air for my Impaling Eruption in the final room. But since I only attacked 2 targets with my Fire Orbs, I have 1 more charge than I normally do. Just have to decide what to do here, which is a little bit iffy. But I can Fatal Fury this Frost Demon, and then my extra Crackling Air charge, along with the fire that I set from Fatal Fury, will take care of this Living Spirit. That's one of the reasons that I bring Flame Strike. Flame Strike is an iffy card because it is just 2 range. But it's very easy for me to set fire with Cauterize and Fatal Fury. So that wound can come in handy. If I had gotten a -1, then I would have gotten the kill still. So I'm going to go for a long rest here to get my Eagle Eye Goggles back. And then my Berserker is just going to be moving forward. But you can tell that this scenario has gone very slowly and not according to plan. And the worst mistake that I make is coming up right here. So I decided to go ahead and throw my Spellweaver in and just let her die. I could have worked my stamina differently so that I would have a Mana Bolt attack instead of this Impaling Eruption, but that would get rid of my last Crackling Air charge. So I don't want to do that. You can see a nice big attack here. Unfortunately, with advantage, I get a -1 on that Living Spirit, so it's still alive. But 2 targets down at 1 health, and then the Elite is at 10. So that's not bad at all. I still have my Resolute Stand, and I'll have a Long Spear, and I still have Cauterize. So very easy for my Berserker to clean up everything here. But because I made that mistake with buying these Eagle Eyes that I didn't need, my gold is completely messed up here. I absolutely have to have 35 gold after this scenario to enhance jump onto Strength and Agony. There's just no way to do the run without that jump. And so the chest in the final room of this scenario has 20 gold in it. But there is a stun trap right in front of it, so I have no access to jumps right now. That's one of the reasons I really need to enhance it onto a card. And so the only way for me to get that chest is to use my Furious Aid to do a loot 2 around it. But I also lost my Strength and Agony, which is my big move card. I'm playing way too greedy here. I should have just Resolute Standed the Earth Demon and killed him, and then sold my Eagle Eye Goggles to get 15 gold back. And then I think I picked up 2 gold piles in this scenario, so that would put me at 25 plus 15. I would have 40 gold. So I would be able to get the enhancement, but I wouldn't be able to get my invisibility cloak. So really, I mean, I completely screwed myself by buying those Eagle Eye Goggles. If I just hadn't bought them, everything would be fine. Then I was already pissed at myself, and then I just picked the wrong cards. Like, I was like, oh, Resolute Stand is a fast card. I can use that to go and perform my loot too. But I don't have any charges of Defiance of Death left, which meant that this guy was killing me, which meant I would only have 2 cards left, which meant that I would never have a chance to rest to get Resolute Stand back, because Resolute Stand was the only thing I could use to kill him. So I had to restart round there to pick different cards, and it's just an absolute nightmare. I lost 3 minutes on Frozen Hollow. I am now of the opinion, with my updated strats for Slave Pens, that Frozen Hollow is the hardest level in the run, but it's still really depressing. So I went for a city event here to get gold, and I did happen to get some gold, which I really needed. And then this level is also extremely depressing. So I have 2 very sad levels in the middle of my run here. But this one really is not my fault. I really just got unlucky here. There are 3 levels in the run that have cultists in them, and in the first one and the third one, I had cultists summon on turn 1. I also get a -2 here on my attack onto this cultist, which means that I cannot kill it. I was going to attack for 2 and for 6, and I needed to deal 9 damage, so I just needed a +1 overall. But my Berserker has a pretty good attack modifier deck at this point. But I didn't get it, and the cultists didn't move up. If they had moved up, it would have been even easier for me to get the kill on them, because I would have had an extra attack for 2. But since these cultists summon on turn 1, that's giving these skeletons extra turns. I think this is a 6-turn scenario. So if you get 5 seconds for each skeleton, 4 extra skeletons on turn 1, you can obviously see how that's really slow. But one thing that is really cool about this level is that these monsters get extra damage on all their attacks because for each altar that's alive. And so I'm telling this Earth Demon to attack for 2. But there are 4 altars alive, so it deals 4 extra damage, and it's an attack for 6. Unfortunately, I got a -2 on my attack, so this altar would be destroyed if I had not gotten that -2. That doesn't matter too badly, as long as on my short rest I don't lose Scurry. But these cultists are just taking forever on their turn because they damaged themselves last turn when they summoned, and now they're healing, which is just so slow. So now my Berserker is able to go and destroy her altars, and I just made sure that she went after my Mind Thief, even though I could have gone at 11. She went after so that that Earth Demon would still get +1 on his attack. I didn't realize that wasn't a guaranteed kill on the Flame Demon. I should have just used my Major Health Potion, because I would have missed the kill with a -2, but it would have had to be a -2. And I should have gone invisible on the Berserker here. I was just, at this point I was frustrated, and I figured that this wasn't going to be a good run anymore, and so I didn't really care. But this Earth Demon plugs the doorway, which is pretty bad, but I do have a jump with feedback loop. I just have to not lose it on my short rest. So, it's not really the end of the world. Unless I lose feedback loop, then the scenario would basically just be over. And with all of these skeletons that are summoned, it would take forever. But now everybody's invisible, so all of these guys are just going to stand still for their turn. But it's still going to take a long time just because there are so many extra monsters. So this level really hurt. It was definitely not what I wanted to see right after I screwed up my Frozen Hollow. Because the beginning of this run was really good, and the end of this run is pretty dang good too. Basically, I think every level after this goes almost exactly according to plan, except for one, but it's only like a 30-second mistake. And then I do get bad RNG on one more level. But I have my feedback loop and my Scurry, so I'm able to jump over this Earth Demon. And then I chose not to open this door just because the Frost Demon in there would get a turn to act. I am not worried about getting attacked for 1 from this skeleton. I could lose a card, worst case scenario, and then I would have to lose a card to the Frost Demon if I open the door. and not to mention him taking a turn would just be slower. And I'll still reach the altar on this turn, on the next turn. But of course, these guys summon again, which is exactly what you want to see. So now we have 8 skeletons on the board, which is very depressing. And then Earth Demon just flies across the map. This scenario is so scary since it gives those Earth Demons extra move. And it gives the Flame Demons extra range on their attacks. So, like, the Flame Demon can move really far and hit both of your characters from ridiculous range with his attack that wounds both. So I am going for an attack for 4 and an attack for 5 onto this altar. And the game does not hate me that badly. It does give me the kill. I would have just reset my run right here if I hadn't gotten that kill. I would have been very, very heartbroken. But we have to watch all of these guys take their turns, and their summoning, which is just so slow. At least the final 2, there aren't any skeletons left for them to summon. But now we have to watch 8 guys move. So this is like a minute after I ended my turn before the level's actually over. That level also went really, really poorly in the run that I'm running against, so I didn't lose time on it, but I think I lost like 2 minutes against my best split. So a big card change here, and at least a little bit of a mood change. Although I'm pretty sure I made a small mistake in this level, but I don't think it's that bad. But I could be misremembering. So once again, I'm going for my overheal to 26 health setup, because oh yeah, I remember what I do here. Oh, this is depressing to watch, actually. So this Night Demon's attacking me. I didn't check what he was attacking me for, but I saw that -1. And so as soon as I saw -1, I started spamming take damage, because it's like, oh, okay, -1's not going to kill me. It did. Brutal is aptly named, so even with a -1, that attack still one-shot me from full health, which I just was not expecting. I should have been spamming to lose a card, but instead I was spamming take damage. So that's like 25 seconds there. But it's not the end of the world. That's the kind of mistake that I can't forgive myself for. And it's funny, at least. So this is also something else that's funny. I don't need to use From the Brink here. It is not necessary at all. The big reason I do use it is that it gives me 2 experience. This is one of the few turns that I have like free action, a free top action basically on the Berserker, and From the Brink just gives me an extra 2 experience. There is a level coming up, the Lair of the Unseeing Eye, that I want to be level 7 for. Level 7 increases my odds of one-shotting the boss significantly, because I'll have 2 extra health from my glass hammer hit. But I am not always level 7 by the time I get there. And so once I routed 4 extra experience from using From the Brink in, I have hit it every time. When I've been short experience, one time I was short 3 experience, and one time I was short 1. So that is the only reason I use From the Brink here instead of just using my health potions, which I think is kind of funny. And so now I am all set up to go into the final room. I just need to get Strength and Agony back. And then I use Possession with the Mind Thief to throw my Berserker across this second room. And then this is one example for why you just absolutely have to have Jump. I mean, this scenario is awful with... those are cursed traps, and then all of the monsters are just walling off. Have to make sure to use the boots, otherwise you don't have enough movement. You just open the door, and then you can't reach, which sucks. But Long Spear is able to pick up this Night Demon, which gives me 4 experience. So it's really good that I get the kill there, because that will also help me get to level 7. Oh, yeah, I made another mistake on turn 2. I was supposed to use Into the Night to go invisible, and I was just, once again, I was just spamming skip action. And I skipped my Into the Night, So I used my invisibility cloak, but that meant that I couldn't go invisible here on the Mind Thief, which is what I normally do. I normally just let my Berserker die, and my Mind Thief is invisible and survives. But it all worked out. The scenario got beat either way. This one I'm not going to slow it down for, because it is the exact same as it was in my previous run. There is nothing to this scenario. It is literally just go and one-shot an altar. So it will be very, very fast. There's not really even much you can do to lose time here. And it's not even, like, close on the movement. I don't even need to move the Berserker forward at all to make it. Or I don't need to, on my starting location, I can be all the way in the back and it's fine. So just everybody goes invisible here, and just make sure I get Strength and Agony back. Since my short rest didn't get me Strength and Agony, I had to take a damage. That meant I was going to use a health potion, which I'm very glad I did, because I could have attacked it for 13 when it had 12 health, and I just so happened to pull the -2. So I'm very glad that I did use that health potion. I considered skipping it, but that worked out, so that's a very fast scenario. I think I left this one sped up as well. I don't remember, but we'll see. This is another boss fight, and so we still have our Unbridled Rage and From the Brink setup going. Nah, yeah, I slowed it down, because this one definitely has some cool strategies. So I'm going to overheal and then heal up all the way. Meanwhile, the Mind Thief has an ulterior motive for this level. Mind Thief just wants to get some gold. And then, so there are 2 traps in the top of the scenario here, in the top of this room, that are both stun traps, which are really, really nice, because I can just push this Sawvass into the stun traps, and these ice Sawvass are grounded. I believe the lava Sawvass are flying enemies, so you can't push them onto traps. So I'm very glad that they gave us these ice guys, because I'm able to push him onto the trap, and that means that I can just go right next to him next turn and loot that chest right from under his feet. So I love that strategy with the Mind Thief. And this is a 30 gold chest, which is the highest amount of gold in a chest in the whole game. Which is really, really nice, because I am looking for an enhancement on my Mind Thief. So I need 40 gold to get there. And then that will be the last thing I buy for my Mind Thief. So I have gotten the chest. I just have to sit through this turn, but nothing anybody's doing is really frightening. The Night Demon's not moving. The Wind Demons aren't moving. The Frost Demon's only moving 2. And then this next turn will be the final turn. We're just doing the same thing we did on the last 2 scenarios, where I'm going to Possession to throw the Berserker forward, and then my Glass Hammer will get the kill. Just have to short rest and make sure I get my Strength and Agony back. And I have my Perverse Edge so that my Mind Thief can go faster. My spacebar just did not work there. I pressed spacebar like 4 times trying to confirm the action, and it just was doing nothing. And both of my characters have invisibility cloak still, so I was able to just go as fast as possible here, and then go invisible, and then nothing will be able to act. So this scenario went pretty well, other than my spacebar not working for a couple seconds. It went just about as quickly as it can. So Drake's Nest, this is this may be the hardest level in the run. For me, it's a toss-up between Drake's Nest and Frozen Hollow. And then Crypt of the Damned is hard, but it's kind of more RNG rather than just being hard. And so for Drake's Nest, in order to beat it, I level up my Berserker. It helps a lot. If I were to... So leveling up the Berserker does increase the difficulty, or increases the level of the monsters by 1. But I was able to level up 3 times, which is actually more beneficial for me than not leveling up at all. So if I had not leveled up, the Spitting Drakes would have 8 health, and the Rending Drakes would have 7. With the monsters leveled up 1 time, the both types of dragons have 9 health. And if you remember the formula I gave you earlier in the run, when I have 1 health, it is 3 plus my level is the amount of damage I can deal with Fatal Fury. So I can one-shot 9 health targets when I am at 1 HP. So this is the part that makes this strategy a little bit sketchy, is that I have to go with 31 here. Now that's faster than all of the Spitting Drake cards, except the one where they stand still. But that obviously wouldn't bother me. But I don't want these Rending Drakes to run up and hit my Berserker. I got really good damage on both of these attacks here, so I actually just killed that guy. He normally doesn't die, but he is wounded, so he normally dies to the wound. But my Berserker was faster than these Rending Drakes, so I really didn't have to worry about anything. So I can just Fatal Fury here, get the kill. I have to Stamina Potion here, which I just bought on this last trip to town. But Stamina Potion is really good because I only have 1 health, so I can't short rest. Otherwise, there's just pretty good odds that I lose my Fatal Fury, which I really need. My computer is pretty slow, and so it really is struggling here with what this dragon should do. But I can just lose a card. I don't care at all that I'm muddled because I am Fatal Furying him next turn. And so my Mind Thief is going to go up into the top. Annoying here that the Flame Demon was faster than me, but not the end of the world. I'm planning on going invisible on both my characters. So he would have just stood still and done nothing. So now I get a chance to hit these guys. So I go for a Poison Dagger on this guy, and based off how much damage I do, I decide whether or not to wound him with my Jagged Sword. And unfortunately, I got a -2, which is the only thing that wouldn't have killed. I also should have just burned the top of Perverse Edge, which would have dealt 3 extra damage and been a guaranteed kill. I cannot explain to you why I went for just a default attack 4 instead of the burn attack 7, because he definitely would have died with the burn attack 7. But that's okay. Like, the Mind Thief is able to finish its half of the scenario pretty much always a turn faster than the Berserker. So it's not really losing any time. It's just a couple seconds to monsters taking a couple extra turns. So this is an example where a minor healing potion is way better than a major, because I'm able to go down to 1 health with it, with my Strength and Agony. And then this is the only spot in the entire scenario where there are 2 dragons lined up and you can long spear them both. And unfortunately, that Rending Drake isn't moving. I would love if he were moving forward. And then I would have just gone invisible. But since he wasn't moving, I didn't really need to go invisible anyway, because he was just going to do the same thing. So Submissive Affliction is able to pick up the kill on that guy that I missed last turn. I died of the dragon here, but no big deal. I still have 3 cards, so I can lose plenty. I just need to deal 5... Well, I need to deal 4 damage next turn while I'm muddled, which is not guaranteed. And then I have to go for a short rest here, and I lose my Fatal Fury. But you had to know that that was coming. But 6 cards on the Berserker, so I just need to kill these 2 enemies. So that's not difficult. So Frigid Apparition is an attack for 5, and a -1 or better would have killed to wounds. So Mind Thief picks up that final kill there. And then Berserker is going to be attacking for 2 and for 5, and needs to deal 9 damage, and gets the kill. I'm very happy with that. And Flame Demon is just standing still. He didn't move the entire scenario. He just stood there and did a couple ranged attacks. And that's Drake's Nest. So that one definitely went really well. But it's a very tense scenario. And now Doom Trench. Doom Trench is a bit of an auto-scroller. You just need to get to the end. You do not need to kill anything along the way. I do kill 1... I never remember what they're called. Deep Terror. I kill 1 Deep Terror just because... my Mind Thief would have to walk around that Deep Terror, which would just take 2 extra hexes of movement, and I can't afford to use my jump right there because I need to jump over a trap in the next room. So I have a Moon Earring, which I use on turn 1. I use my boots, and then I use my Moon Earring right after it, Normally, I disarmed those lurkers in that first room, but they were just standing still and attacking everything adjacent to them, so I didn't need to disarm them. Then I get all the way up to this door and am invisible, and I long rest both my characters so that they can get their boots back. And I can pick the cards that they get back, which is really nice because I have to have both Scurry and Feedback Loop. So Berserker is able to hit the first exit tile, and then Mind Thief has one extra unit of movement, which is why I needed that 30 gold chest, because I was able to put +1 move on Feedback Loop. And Doom Trench is done. So it's a very fast level, and it's very, very, very easy. It's completely free as long as I do everything correctly, but it's very easy to do something incorrectly, like to forget to use the stamina potion, or to forget to use your moon earring. But luckily I didn't mess up probably one of the easiest levels in the run. And then this is Lair of the Unseeing Eye. This is a very, very easy one. Unfortunately, this boss has 28 health, and so I get a +1 here. So he has 5, and I'm attacking for 4 with Empathetic Assault, so +1 kills, and I don't get it. I have never killed this boss in one turn in any of my splits. I've done it in practice multiple times, but my best split has not one-shot this boss on turn 1, which is really frustrating because it's not hard to do. But just need to wait for the Berserker to die, but unfortunately all these lurkers are taking their turns, so this is like 45 seconds that I lose, but it's just pure RNG. There's no way for me to... This would be the attack that I would really want Eagle Eye Goggles for. This would be the main one that I would want Eagle Eye Goggles, but I had to sell them because I had to have Invisibility Cloak. Otherwise, on Plane of Night, the Deep Terrors can really mess you up. They can disarm you, they can immobilize you. I just have to be invisible for that turn. There have been many turns that I've really wanted to be invisible, especially on Doom Trench and Treacherous Divide. So here is Slave Pen. So I just uploaded a video of my new strategies for Slave Pens, and it made this level go from like a 13-minute level to a 7.5, maybe 8-minute level. And I went from probably about like a 30% win rate on it to I have never lost it since I updated my strategies. So I'm really, really happy with my new Slave Pen strategies, and I no longer consider it the hardest level in the run, and it is not the longest level in the run. It's faster than Frozen Hollow, and it can be faster than Crypt of the Damned too, just depending on how they go. So turn 1, I wound both of these guards, and I make sure that they stay still where they are. If they had drawn... The only card that would have made them move would be their ranged card, because they would move so they didn't have disadvantage on the Berserker. But I would have just gone invisible with the Berserker there, so that they would have targeted the Mind Thief. So they still would have stayed still. With them standing still right there, Redthorn doesn't see a path to exit the room, since he can't walk through them. Which means that Redthorn just chills in the back, which is really good. The easiest way to lose this scenario is for Redthorn to go off and do stupid things and walk into enemies and walk into traps and just die. But a very interesting property of this is that Redthorn has 14 health, and he has move 3. So as soon as these guards move out of the way and let Redthorn start moving, it's actually very difficult for them to catch him, because both of the guards' shuffle cards are their 15 speed card where they don't move. So if they draw their 70 speed card, they only move 2 and they don't catch him. If they draw their 30 speed card, they move 4, but they only attack for 2. So they catch, but they don't deal very much damage. And then they can't draw those cards multiple times in a row because they have to get their card where they stand still. So as soon as Redthorn starts running away, he can run away from these guys really easily. With that being said, I did let 2 guards aggro him, which is a little bit nerve-wracking here. They also got their Strengthen card, which is definitely the scariest thing to see, because it means next turn they'll be hitting hard. But that one guy who has 1 health is going to die. And so the only thing that I could lose to would be their 70 speed card getting a +2. And so that's There are very good odds of that not happening. Unfortunately, the archers immobilized me on that previous turn. And then with this 50 speed card here, he's just attacking for 3. So even if he had drawn a +2, Redthorn still would have been alive. Normally, I would have gone into the third room right here, but since my Mind Thief was immobilized, I just decided to rest both my characters to get rid of that immobilized. So that definitely loses like 20 seconds, but there's not really anything else I could do since they immobilized me. I really want the Mind Thief to be pushing the Elite Stone Golem in here around into the traps. So Resolute Stand will always pick up these 2 kills right here. And then I get a little bit unlucky again. The Stone Golem got his Immobilize card again. Since my Mind Thief is going to be pushing the Stone Golem away, my Berserker is not going to be able to hit it on the following turn since it's immobilized. So really bad luck here on some of the monster pulls. But it's not the end of the world. Really, the bad luck, it just maybe change my strategies around. I just wasn't able to use like my default strategies that I go for. But I think I reacted to everything pretty well. Normally, I like to Careless Charge and Defiance of Death here, and I can just push the Golem into the trap, but I just won't be able to move. This was a slight mistake here. I shouldn't have opened the door. I should have just stayed one space in front of it. And then getting that -2 makes me miss on the kill, even with wound, but I'm just going to be hit once. Both of these guys ended up staying still, so I didn't get punished at all for opening the door, but also there's nothing they can really do to punish you. This is an Elite Enox, which means he has 1 less move than his allies do, so the most he can move is 3, so he never would have been able to reach my Mind Thief. And then the Enox Archer has really short range. I think the most he can do is move 3 and attack at 3 range. So really just not scary at all. So since my Berserker was immobilized, it did get a chance to push the Golem around. And so I have to get my Fearsome Blade back here. Also, normally I use Fearsome Blade before I have rested for the first time, so I would already have it back. But pushing this guy into the traps... it will kill him if I get a +1 or better. So I go ahead and throw the Wound Dagger on there just in case I don't get the +1. And then a nice little love tap from that Archer. And then it took me a little bit to count my squares, but this works out perfectly for me to be able to reach this Archer and damage myself down to 1 health with my Strength and Agony. And so Fatal Fury is a guaranteed kill. And I still have my Stamina Potion, so that is the plan for the final room. Stone Golem dies to his wound, and all of a sudden, Slave Pens does not look like an impossibly difficult scenario. So I'm really, really happy with these strats. Before, with the old strategies I was using, it was... what I was doing in room 2 was super, super, super complicated because I was jumping over at 27 speed and trying to use Fearsome Blade to push 2 enemies to be next to each other. But the problem is that my Berserker had to go at 37, and so the Stone Golems could go at 28, or the Archers could go fast, and they could mess up the pattern that I pushed them into, and then it means I don't have feedback or Fearsome Blade to push the Golem in the 3rd room. So it was horrible. And this level used to be really, really difficult for me. I had 8 or 9 runs that were on like sub 2 hour pace that I lost on Slave Pens before I ever beat it on my first initial sub 2 hour run. But just 1 enemy left to go, and I have my Stamina Potion so I can get Fatal Fury back. And so this is another example of just letting my Mind Thief die on purpose, because now I just won't have to take a turn with it, so it'll be faster. Even if the Archer outspeeds me with its 14 speed card, that is not its Immobilize card. So I could just lose a card and my Berserker would be perfectly safe. And I was faster than its 29 speed card, which is the Immobilize. So relatively good Slave Pens there. I got 2 unlucky Immobilizes, but I was able to react to everything pretty well. And it is time to say goodbye to the Mine Thief. I don't know why I never realized that the Scoundrel is, like, pretty good. So I just have 2 boss fights left, and so it will be a Scoundrel instead of a Mine Thief. That is the most tease of a road event I have ever seen. That I really, really want that road event because it gives me a relatively useful item, the tooth necklace or something like that, necklace of teeth, which I can use to heal. I'm a berserker. It also sells for 20 gold, so it's just a really good thing to see at any point in time in the run. Except for now, because I'm not buying anything else, so that was frustratingly useless. But Scoundrel's really, really good, just because I can go invisible with Backstab and get an attack for 16, and then Glass Hammer. Just a very, very easy 1-2 punch to kill that boss. I did delete the Mine Thief, just because that's a really fast way to sell all the items back, and I bought a pair of boots onto the Scoundrel. The Scoundrel does a lot better in the final boss fight, which is this next and last level, just because the final boss is immune to everything. You can't poison or wound, which is really where the Mine Thief is getting, like, all of its damage from doing these big bursts with Perverse Edge to hit something with a poison and a wound and to explode its health bar down. And so, since this guy's immune to all of that, the Scoundrel actually does a lot more damage. So I'll go for a single out here. The boss is always going to be standing by himself, so that's 4 attacks of... It's 8 extra damage, and then I need the Smoke Bomb to go invisible on turn 1 anyway. Glass Hammer gives me a nice hit. So I used to turn crits back on for this fight, and just hope that I would buy an Eagle Eye Goggles and a Moon Earring, because I could sell everything else, because I basically don't need them. And then I would just hope that I got a crit on a Berserker attack. But once I realized I could just switch to the Scoundrel, that actually means that I don't need a crit, and I'm not risking a miss. You get 3 extra curses on both characters for this level, so it was really, really easy for me to miss the boss before and just actually lose. And yeah, so I'm pulling some -2s, but it's not the end of the world. I've only one time have I not killed the boss in 3 turns, and I think I pulled -2s like every single turn on the Berserker. But he only has 10 health left, and I obviously won't take an attack for 16, but I still have some cards, so that is it. That is Gloomhaven Brutal in an hour 48. I'm not totally happy with this run. I am going to try to improve it. I would love to get, like, a 142, a 141. They're possible. My sum of best splits is 137. So maybe I'll try to get a sub 140, but that sounds very difficult. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it, and feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and come on back for next time. Have a good one, guys. Thanks.
The dull pains of the... You...